Hello, my name's Andy. Welcome to the 14th episode of Keeping Water. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you're new to the channel, there's lots of other videos to watch, and I'd really appreciate you choosing to subscribe. I make full episode videos weekly, with occasional shorter videos as and when I have time. In this week's episode, I'm going to take a closer look at the suspected mouth and fin rot one of my fish had last week, what they are, what causes them, the treatment I chose, and how things have gone. After that, there'll be the usual weekly update, where I make a significant change of plan and give an update on the mirror carp's injury. We'll start by looking at mouth and fin rot. Fin rot can either be caused by a bacterial infection, which causes a ragged decay of the fish's fins, or by a fungal infection, which causes a less uneven rotting of the fin and will create a white edge. Occasionally, both types of infection can be seen together. Fin rot will start at the edge of the fish's fins, with the decay removing more and more tissue before reaching the fin base. Fish can regrow destroyed fins as long as the rot does not reach the base. Additionally, if it does reach the base, it can also then attack the body. Fin rot has a number of possible causes, including bad water quality, injury, poor diet, stress, or as a secondary infection to another disease. Mouth fungus or mouth rot is caused by the Flavobacterium bacteria. In the early stages of infection, white marks will be noticed around the mouth and on the fins. As the condition progresses, white fluffy growths can appear around the mouth, which can lead to ulceration and rotting of the fish's lips. Other symptoms include ulcers on the body and frayed fins, as Flavobacterium can also cause fin rot. Mouth rot can also be more likely in situations of bad water quality, following injury, because of stress, or secondary to another disease. Applying this to diagnosing my own fish, I came to the following conclusions. Firstly, that the initial white patches around Tench's mouth, although initially consistent with an abrasion, had increased in number and size, looking a little fluffy. This appeared consistent with mouth rot. The decay and ragged look of its tail fin appeared more consistent with a bacterial infection rather than a fungal infection, as there was no white edge. These two observations made me think it's likely to be a Flavobacterium infection that my fish is suffering from. Attributing a cause is a little more difficult, but I can make some reasonable guesses. The first thing to look at is obviously water quality. My most recent test showed no ammonia or nitrite, and in spite of my detritus problems in the pond, there didn't appear to be any obvious quality issues. However, what is more obviously present are a number of other factors. Injury. I recently netted the fish, and a combination of an old net, a difficult netting process, and some panicking when in the tub meant that a number of the fish suffered abrasions and knocks. Additionally, they have experienced a number of situations that would cause them stress. The netting itself, my getting in the pond a number of times recently to carry out pre-winter maintenance, and the loss of the plants that provided them with cover. Finally, two other possibly contributing factors. The bacteria are more common in alkaline water, and at the last test my water was 8, not excessively high but at the upper end. Also, drops in water temperature are associated with outbreaks, and the water has reduced a small but significant amount in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Therefore, I've diagnosed a Flavobacterium infection, possibly caused by a number of factors including injury and stress, and possibly alkalinity and water temperature. The next step was to decide on treatment. I wanted to act quickly as 1, it is a potentially fatal condition, and 2, that many treatments don't work or work less effectively as the water gets colder. My other consideration was that I had mixed stocking. There are a range of treatment options. However, it was important to choose one that medication-sensitive fish like rudd and tench can tolerate. I therefore chose Blagdon Fish Aid antifungus and bacteria treatment. This involved daily treatments over 5 days with an incredibly green liquid which turned the pond a suitably bright and extreme shade of green. The fish seemed unbothered, aside during each administration of the medicine. After the 5 days of treatment, I put the GoPro into the pond to have a look. Once I'd sorted it out, I could see the water was still a little green and murky, and for about an hour all the other fish except the one tench I was after passed by the camera. Finally, it did swim past and looked like this. I've compared this clip with the original one I filmed a week ago, and my verdict is that it's pretty much the same as it was. It's certainly no worse, which is positive, and none of the other fish have shown any signs of infection or worsening abrasions. All good news really. The existing damage would not have healed after just a few days, especially with the water being the low temperature it is. Not being worse is good therefore, and hopefully a sign that the infection is under control. I think time will tell. I can't repeat the treatment for another week, and maybe by then I'll be able to see enough of a difference, good or bad, to make a judgment on. The fish continues to be its usual self, eating and as active as the other fish are. So, as I said last week, what have I learnt from all this? Well, I need better netting equipment and a softer or round bowl to place fish in when I complete the yearly checks and measures. These would help reduce the likelihood of injuries to the fish, which I think is the most feasible cause. Additionally, I could look at the pH and KH to see if I could ensure there's more stability there, and try to get some more moderate levels. Looking into that will be a whole video of its own, and certainly one for the future. As far as diagnosis and treatment goes, I think I'm probably on the right track. The treatment is for fungal and bacterial infections, so if I've not diagnosed spot on, then it may be covered. I don't have access to a microscope to do scrapes to see if there's a primary parasite infection. However, the fish are showing no signs of irritation, for example, flashing, jumping, appearing agitated, or showing any signs of significant ill health, being inactive or not feeding, etc. Obviously, time will tell how well the treatment has worked. I'll review in future weekly updates. With autumn here and the leaves very much about to fall, I considered the large amount of work I had ahead of me in keeping the pond and garden clear of leaves. In previous years I've built a frame out of PVC piping and covered it with a variety of diameters of netting. This had worked reasonably well. Although a fair amount of leaves got through, compared to the thousands that fall onto the garden, it was only a tiny fraction. The downside was that it was immensely ugly and hid the fish for at least a couple of months. Therefore, last year I didn't bother netting the pond and relied on the skimmer and manual labour to keep on top of the leaves. It was not immensely successful and lots of work. Still, I was planning on doing the same this year, but my efforts in completing the winter prep reminded me that it's hard work and showed that I already had a detritus problem that I didn't want to add to. Therefore, this last week I decided that netting the pond would be sensible through autumn and into winter. I wouldn't need to build a frame again, as I could just attach some netting to the heron fence. My old netting had been borrowed for various other projects and what was left wouldn't fit, but for less than a tenner I bought some new. I attached it to the shed and securely fixed it in a few places, while using some removable hoops made out of cable ties in other places to allow easy access to the pond when necessary. As it turned out, I made the decision just at the right time, as after 24 hours this many leaves had already fallen and there's still thousands to go. It does have the benefit of being almost 100% heron proof, which is handy as a CCTV camera shows pretty much nothing now. Not much else to report from the pond, except the mirror carp injury update. Well, it's looking a lot better. Nearly all the white mark has faded a bit now, and I'm convinced it's nothing to worry about, although I'll still check on it from time to time. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Keeping Water. I really do appreciate it. Over the next week I'm going to be trying out a number of filming ideas in and around the pond. I'll share the results in the next episode, episode 15. I'll also give an update on the fish and how the treatment's progressed. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.